Oh, whoa, hey, getting everything together here. Hey, Freakout Friday. It's Friday in your neck of the woods. Some mechanic is definitely probably freaking out. In any case, hey, welcome to Freakout Friday with I Know a Guy Bicycles. Hey, I'm Justin, the guy from I Know a Guy Bicycles, and this is Friday. And Happy New Year's to all of you out there. We just celebrated another lap around the sun, and here we are, beginning of, well, in my neck of the woods, winter. Winter is now here-ish, still coming for us because we haven't had that much cold weather yet. We've had a couple small snaps, but nothing too terrible. Today's going to be in the 50s, so, and that's our current trend. In any case, it's all good. Let me know if you can hear me or see me okay, or if you can't, definitely let me know. Appreciate the interaction. And again, this is the interactive mechanic day or bike shop. I'm a small shop in the garage. If you haven't watched me before or know about me, I've been in the industry for a long time, and now I basically settled down, coffee filtered down to basically a small garage shop in my personal home. Reason being is, well, rent's too expensive and I don't want to have employees and all those headaches to go with it. I want to keep it fun and light and polite and just be more effective of what I do. And that being said, cherry picking, everything that's pretty nice. So everything, it's appointment-based business, which works really well for me. And it works really well for a lot of my customers locally. And here we are on basically a podcast style of hanging out. I'm going to feature a couple or a bike behind me and some parts, meaning a couple parts. In any case, while we're waiting for people to jump into the live stream, feel free to shout out and where your neck of the woods in the chat. And if you're watching this on the replay, please comment below. I'll put more information in the description if need be on what we end up talking about today. So it has its own beast and it goes its own direction. I do have kind of a layout for today, what I'm going to be working on, because really, realistically, it's Friday. And you want to think, being the off season for me in Colorado, that I would be busy. I'm busy. It's just I can't just sit back and relax, which most bike shops don't anyway because they're freaking out about how to make their ends meet in the off season. But for me, we are doing okay. In January, I got some repairs lined up, some really cool repairs lined up to work on, as in to feature on my channel. So those are going to be coming up as well. In addition to, oh, let's see, I'm not quite vertical, am I? So those who are watching me on the vertical stream, oh, wrong direction. There we go, ish. Do I want that? Do I want that? Do I want that? There we go. Sorry about the earthquake. You know, as a bike mechanic trying to do YouTube, so, and also a podcast. So here's to all of you. 65 Bugnut, thank you. Great name, by the way. Happy New Year's to you too. I can see and hear you fine. Thank you. I had a problem with my mic, I think it was last week, where I went on a whole beautiful rant and I couldn't remember the rant after my mic was dead. So it's just one of those things. Like, I think I tried to recap what I was just saying. But in any case, it is the new year, 2026. Here we are. And there's a few things that are, in my perspective of a bike shop, is going to be really focusing on for this specific year and our troublesome times and whatever we're trying to do in our neck of the woods. There's been successes in our industry, but it's been mostly at the bike shop, independent bike shop level versus big companies trying to sell products, because they're not having a great time whatsoever. And they weren't prepared for it. So I don't know. I mean, you can have opinion, positive, negative, whatever about that, but it is what it is. And it is going to affect us bike shops as well as going forward for consumers looking for products and so forth. But there's a big shift, and there's starting to shift. And a lot of shops, if they don't embrace what I'm going to be talking about here in a minute, is just going to be missing the boat. And they're going to just, you know, they can take opportunities and be successful. I had one person chime in, I think this week. They had one bike shop that did so well this season that they were able to financially open a second location for what they do. Not really sure the dynamics of where they're located or their economical structure around them, but that's still a positive feather in the cap of independent bike shops of actually doing something positive. So, in any case, Oh, Josh at Precision E-Bike. Hey, you're out riding, getting off of the Bobcat Trail. Nice. I hope you're had a wonderful morning ride. It's still a little chilly. Not too bad though. I mean, you layer up. The sun is trying to come out a little bit, as you can probably see behind me. I do have little windows in the garage here, but in any case, here we are. So try to get a little more productive today than last Friday and Fridays before, because I got stuff coming in. I got an appointment at noon, a bike drop off, and another one later this afternoon. So I got some repairs rolling in, so it's all good. Could always use a little more, but I'm not a beggar's not going to be too picky. I'm very, very fortunate to have several of my really good customers starting to think around Christmas time, and they're like, I need to get my projects worked on and get them into Justin to get him start rolling on them, because I want to have them all ready by beginning of the season. So, and our season can be really weird because it could be really snowy in March or it could be really nice. And actually right now, since it is in the 50s Fahrenheit, if you're watching from another place that does Celsius, it's warm. I mean, when I say it's hot, I mean 70s is when you get down to your jersey and short sleeve. For us in the 50s, yeah, you need a layer or two, and if it's not sunny, you want to add some windbreaker or something else. But if it's sun's out here in Colorado, since we're a higher altitude, we do get cooked pretty good. So you just need to rotate, and you got to ride in a circle, because that way you're rotating yourself around the sun. And I've had days I'm riding, like, I need to turn around because I'm just getting too cold on one side of me. So in any case, that's the tip of Colorado riding on a sunny day. I hope, Josh, you're open. I hope you're having a good ride there and a well mental break before getting back to the grind. Josh at Precision E-Bike is one of my local faves for doing e-bike stuff. So he helps me, as well as a lot of other shops, go, we don't work on that, but I know somebody that's real close that's going to take care of you. So, it is part of the community now. A lot of the shops are becoming more micro-sized and more niche, and we rely on each other a lot more than we have in the past, and we're becoming more of a community, which is freaking awesome. I love it. It's awesome. Susan, thank you for chiming in from the Great White North. Wishing all bike shop owners a happy and prosperous New Year's of 2026. Same to you. It can be, and I think there, for a lot of shops, there's really good opportunity here to take, especially, we're in the off season here. So to those who are in season right now in Australia, New Zealand, and South America, you guys are in the heat of it, literally. But for most of us in the States, there's about a 6-state exclusion of that, because you got Florida and the Bible Belt, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, a little bit of Nevada, and California, southern, where they're still riding. And this is their peak season-ish, because it's actually not too damn hot to ride. They're able to ride. So for them, it's busy. For the rest of us, though, we're on our back heels trying to figure out, okay, what worked last summer, what's working. We kind of know how we're going to double down on it to make it prosperous for 2026. And there is a couple good gold nuggets. At least there's something out there. It may not be exactly what you want to do, but it's going to keep your business and your local communities going until things, let's say, settle or change in 3 years from now, or a year. Hopefully a year, and we can kind of shift, but can't count on it. That's one thing. Just can't count on it. But in any case, it is Friday, and if you're just joining me, it's Freakout Friday, just for fun. Not totally freaking out, but I am busy, so that's why I'm putting the gloves on. I'm going to show you a featured bike here and let people get into the chat and so forth. And thank you for joining. Ooh, Susan, it's a -10 Celsius. That's nipply. Quite chilly. Heavy Metal Cycles, welcome back. Austin, Texas. You're in your moment of riding season. So you're either wrenching or riding, one of the two. Thank you for joining and coming back. 71. That's a good temperature to be at, for sure. Patrick Washburn, thank you for chiming in. Good morning to you too. Thank you for answering questions about selling my stump jumper. Oh, was that you? I was just kind of okay, I do have to admit, there is a mission, confession. Let's do the bike shop confession. I did notice that, I had my Shop Talk Tuesday, and it's still going. So if you're around on Tuesday, chime in on Tuesday. It's a little bit longer. I do about 2 hours there. This is the hour, just kind of get me to the weekend, get you to the weekend, think about fun things, hopefully positive. But I did see my evil twin. No, he's a good guy, bike farmer. And he and I, a little bit of backstory, monetized this almost the same month about 3 years ago. And he just went so huge. And I sputtered along and I launched a little bit. And people got us really confused because at the time we both had really long hair and that kind of thing. And we were both fighting against the algorithm and all that and trying to get our videos out and so forth. And then I just saw a few weeks ago, he started doing lives on Friday. And I'm like, okay, he's a smart cat. He's doing his analytics searches and so forth. And this is a prime time. And for him to do a live at 9, my time. And then I'm like, hey, I'll just pay back an hour. And I was thinking about doing a second live stream anyway. And a podcast, more just on a Friday, kind of recap kind of thing. And I was like, hey, this is a perfect time. So yes, Patrick, I do listen in and seeing what the general topics are or whatever. I don't go into what he goes into. People find it entertaining, and he's the one that presents that story. I have a different story. I have a different technique and philosophy, and also sense of style. Not saying his style is bad, but mine is different, and I'm not going to copy him. I'm just piggybacking. Hopefully that's okay with you. In any case, you get more content for bike stuff. What can go wrong? Right? Maybe not, whatever. So anyway, that's my confession. And yes, I was listening and I saw your comment. I'm like, oh yes. And that alludes to what I already had this loaded up to talk about today. So it's nothing like I'm like, oh, I got to change my, my platform or what I'm going to talk about. I wouldn't go say script because these are very unscripted. Reason being is because I want to be interactive. In other words, yes, questions, comments, we talk about it, then we go to the next thing. There's not a shy of content out there in my head anyway about talking about bike stuff. So rarely you'll have dead silence. And if you do, I either have to go to the bathroom, which I usually don't, but I'm getting older, that may happen. Or something catastrophically went wrong with my setup. Like the mic went out or my whatever, internet went out or what have you. But in any case, you're welcome, Patrick, on that, answering that question. I am really in that field of selling full bikes as well as parts and frames and parting out stuff. So I actually know a lot of dollar amounts in my head in real time when I look at a bike that can be, it needs to be either brought together and have a decent profit, or something needs to be parted out to offset or make a little bit more profit. So that is basically my business model now, and going into pretty hardcore in 2026. And also that is driven by the actual local market as well as our national market here in the States. Due to the fact that new is dead. New bikes are dead for 26 people. There was an article, and I'll probably read it off. I don't want to really show it. is I don't really have agreements with these people or not, but it was a very interesting topic. It's like the 5 things that why you should not buy a new bike in 2026. We'll might touch on that here in a second, but in any case, I hope you got some insights from both of us, Patrick, on your stump jumper. I think we mirrored about the same philosophy on that, but in any case, Spooky Tuesday, 17th. Thank you for joining in. Good morning to you too from Pueblo. Yeah, we're enjoying it. Are you enjoying this nice weather? Josh on Precision E-Bike, he's out for a ride. He's so committed. He's actually listening to me while I was riding. That is just insane. Like, why are you doing that to yourself? Don't let anything bite you. Well, nothing's out right now to bite you. So it's safe for rattlesnakes, which we do have here. But they're dormant, so it's safe to ride in those bush areas. For the most part, I want to say, always be mindful on warm days. Heavy metal cycles. You to work well together. Oh yeah, we could, you know. We mirror each other. We complement each other. Let's put it that way. Good compliment. It's always about complimenting. In any case, I will do. Well, I do actually need to get the homework or the business work out of the way. So this show is sponsored you by
Untitled Wheel Warehouse in California has an excellent selection of wheels to choose from. They're pre-built, or also you can have them custom built up to various sizes. You can reach out to them directly if you have something unique like the 650 wheel or a different style hub. Therefore, it makes it an excellent bike wheel set company that actually provides good wheel sets without breaking the bank. You will find them being very trusted and true. They really hold up under a lot of different riding conditions and so forth. It takes the standard old school wheel building practices and puts them in a better format. But in any case, this is a wheel set you'll be really love to have. It'll perform for you for a long period of time, and the quality and the attention to detail is superb. You'll find information about this company in the description below, with also my personal coupon code. I hope you find a good wheel set that works for you.
Where am I? Where am I? Oh, there I am. Oh, there we go. Sorry, lost track of myself. Yeah, I have one of their wheel sets going to be featuring. I'm moving over here due to the fact that we're going to be working on some stuff and some cool stuff. Have a little heater going on in the garage here and try to keep myself warm. I'm trying to center this so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing for the most part. But in any case, yeah, it's been a good year so far. Some people during the holidays, like I mentioned before, are like, oh, we need to get some stuff worked on. And here we are working on some stuff. And that being said, it's good. So going back to Patrick Washburn's question that actually is piggybacked from the Bike Farmer video that he put in, is should I sell my older stump jumper? It was like an 80s or whatever. Well, if you're looking for selling or parting out, which was the question, like should I piece it out? So, and this is going to resonate with all those who have some bikes floating around in their garage and that know how to wrench a little bit, at least how to take things apart, and also bike shops that are tuning in and listening to my craziness, and they're all welcome. It makes you to make this channel, so I appreciate it. And I love having all of you in my community and sharing and all that kind of stuff. So in any case, so going back to that question about parting out bikes, and you know, it's not a new concept. I did it back in the early 2000s. So if you look at my eBay account, you'd be like, she started back in 2003 or 2002. I was one of the first that did it. Personal life derailed me from continuing to grow in that area, which I kicked myself in the butt really hard because the influences of my time, ex-wife, really did not help me prosper in any damn way possible. Therefore, she is what she is, the beast of mine. I'm in a different scenario now, obviously, and doing a lot better. And I have a support group, really. My current wife, and I love her, and we've been almost together. We're celebrating being together for 15 years into the month. So having those positive influences in your life really helps you do the things you really love to do and able to do them either, if you can't do it with work, at least in your personal time and that kind of thing. So that leads to what I'm doing now. Starting back in 2002, 2003, I was working at a bike shop, and I saw an opportunity of buying used and parting out frames and componentry and so forth. And it worked pretty well. And again, this is before the blow up of YouTube and anything of that nature, but it did work pretty well because Craigslist was around, and that's where I was getting my stuff. I was Craigslist. Now there's a lot more opportunities of getting more stuff to do those kinds of things. As a personal, we'll approach this one first with the Patrick's personal approach is you look at your bike and you got certain things on a bike, on a used bike, you're not going to be able to resell. Like sometimes the grips, usually worn out, saddles usually trashed, what have you. Unless it's a fancier, newer, more expensive saddle you put on there, I could have a resale value. Some of the specialized ones I find like, oh man, I can make another $60 off just the saddle alone. Other things on a bike, sometimes the seat post, if it's a carbon seat post, maybe fancy bars, but it's usually upgraded parts on that bike. So if you had that older stump jumper and you had some upgraded parts on that, you especially want to pull those and sell those individually. The worst concept of selling a used part out bike as a presentation portion of it is doing like a laundry list of things with several pictures and only one listing on Facebook or Craigslist. You can't do it on eBay, but like that doesn't work. I mean, it kind of works, but you're not going to get the most value out of your pieces and parts. You got to take the time and list each individual part by itself. And you can leverage, your Facebook Marketplace, your Craigslist, your eBay, and there's various other platforms out there. Maybe your cycling community has or Teams or whatever has a selling board or something like that. So you can leverage all those. And the more portals, the better, I found, for the personal person that's selling their own personal stuff. That way you can get probably the best opportunity of selling something. Keep mindful that eBay is going to take a huge chunk of that, so price it appropriately, and also shipping. That's if you're comfortable shipping. And get comfortable with shipping, and shipping is really good value if you want to sell more items in your area where it might be the off season. So I'm not sure where you're living at, Patrick, but if it's winter, that selling those parts in the frame locally is going to be harder to do. But if you're willing to throw it in a box and ship it out, USPS, they have like those priority mails, which work pretty good for all the small parts. The wheels in the frame, I suggest going to Bike Flights because they have a lot lower group pricing, and you can get that pricing down and so forth. You can go to my eBay store and check it out. I think there's a link on my approved partner page on my website. I know a guy bicycles.com, and you can look at all my listings, and you can, if you had something similar and just kind of figuring what shipping should be, click on it and you'll see the shipping on there. Certain wheels, like a single wheel is $35, a wheel set is about $50, a frame set is $100, and that is pretty close. Sometimes you have to pay a little extra depending, but that's in the lower 50. I want to do, unfortunately, for the frame and wheels, I would not do Alaska or Hawaii. But if it's the smaller parts, the cost is the same for priority mail. So keep that in mind. So that's a little tidbit there. Noah, so you're down in Louisiana, right? So warmer near your neck of the woods. So you might be able to sell if you don't want to deal with shipping and so forth and that. But quite honestly, I like the shipping portion of it versus than trying to coordinate somebody to come at your house or meet them somewhere in a weird parking lot or an alley to sell your stuff like some drug dealer. For me, it's just a little cleaner of just transaction and just go. But that's, some people just don't want to do that. That's fine. Whatever the case may be, whatever the time he has. But yeah, if it's in your neck of the woods and you want to just deal local, that's fine. But it's all up to you and what your comfort level is. Facebook Marketplace does have an option to ship. They do have their percentage on there, or you can ship it yourself and pay your own rate, which might be a little cheaper than going through the platform, but it's also a level of comfort. I found with eBay, eBay selling platform, even though they gouge you on the commission for selling the product, the shipping is very about the same to like Shippo or whatever all those shipping platforms are, including bike flights. So for the frames and wheels and so forth. So if you have somebody that reaches out on Craigslist and like, oh, I live in a different state, and you're going to do ship that. The reason why I do bike flights and primarily do other stuff is I sell off my website as well. Try to get away from that increased price, and some people just don't want to buy off of eBay. So that's not very often, but there's a few. And eBay is very seller or buyer protected, so be careful. Because they can do a claim on you and there's almost nothing you can do about it. So that's why selling bike and frame parts and so forth, mostly the frame and frame parts are a little more risk less than full bikes on eBay specifically, because if somebody does a claim on a bike, which has happened to me, I lost a whole bike, $700 later, nothing. I lose out on shipping, everything. So it totally sucked. Somebody stole it basically. And I couldn't do anything about it. But when you look at bike parts, it's like, okay, well, somebody did some weird thing on a derailleur. Well, I still have the rest of the parts in the frame or whatever to offset. So the loss is minimized. Let's put it that way. In any case. So that's what I suggest. And do your homework. And the homework is pretty easy, actually, nowadays, because you can just go on like eBay and go stump jumper, frame, year, pull up, and see what it's sold. Here's a little gold nugget for you. I found you can start listing a product. You don't have to publish it, but start listing it. They have a suggested pricing tool by the actual price. So if you put in the name of the product to recognize it in their system and possibly some of the description and make sure the category is correct, once you get those things layered out right, it'll give you what's been sold in the last 60 days or something like that with that similar product. So you can get an idea of what is actually sold versus what people are listing at, because those can get kind of high and low or whatever. But I usually try to, start up high, and they have a new breakdown now where you click a button right underneath the pricing, and it actually, you have your current price and you break it down by week how much you want to go down, either $5 or $10 or $2 or whatever, to a bottom line price point. So it automatically does the flush for you. What's a flush? Well, it's not the flush in card games. It's the inventory flush where every week you discount a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more until it freaking goes away. Well, this at least gives you a price in the minimum amount, and therefore you have an opportunity to capitalize maybe on somebody who has a higher demand on that product, or if it just sits there for 6 weeks and eventually goes away, hopefully. Some stuff I have is still hit the bottom line flush and I gotta wait. Put the pricing on there so you can identify it. When it hits the bottom flush, then I readjust, and if I need to, or just sometimes it just needs to wait, depending what it is. Sometimes I'll need 6 months to whatever to sell that one part. But on the higher up ticket items like the frames and wheels and shifters, kind of want to get those out the door, because that's how I get the running capital back. So we're now shifting over into the business model of this conversation, in any case. Anyway, oh, look at that. Bill from Vital Bike Chains is in the house. eBay also is a very easy international shipping program. That's if you want to do that. It is. Ish. It's probably easier now than when I first started. And I got burned on some stuff that went to Italy. And I just kind of stopped. If I need to at some point, because that's the only people who are buying, yes. But if stuff is still selling within the States, I'm just going to keep it here. But yeah, it's you have to, I think you still have to fill out the form. They may have a little bit easier process now. But back in the day, you'd have to go down to the post office, get in the long, long line, and get to the teller that's like mad at the world, and then you have to fill out these forms correctly to go whatever country, and then you pay your dues or whatever that to be sent to that country. Might be a little bit easier process now online, which I haven't done international since then. So hopefully it is, because back then it was just a cluster pain in the butt, beating case. And then you have to make sure it's marked used in certain countries, because if it's going new into that country, they have to pay a certain amount of taxes or imports and some of that kind of thing. So, well, the whole tariff thing right now, I don't know. I don't know how I want to approach that. In any case. Oh, my eBay handle. That's a good one. You got me on that one. Let me just shoot a link. Let's see. It's a long link, but here you go. Nope. Put it in the chat there. That's my eBay handle. Thanks for having motorcycles. Yeah, you can get an idea there. Let's see here. I've been buying there for a while. Yeah, Shop Dog, I bought some stuff from them because I needed to refurbish and bike parts and put them back together. They seem to be pretty decent stuff. Yeah, I mean, if you're buying stuff, you want to try to find it from somebody that cleans and inspects and all that kind of deal. If you're selling it yourself and you feel very comfortable of, so you do your little research. That's what the whole conversation started, right? You do your little research and you figure out your frame and fork. You might be able to get where your cost or where you want to get out of it with that, and all the parts will be a profit. Business perspective of it, but if you comfortable of what you want to get out of it by partnering it out and totaling it up on a spreadsheet, which usually is about like 8 or 9 items. I mean, it's not much more than that. And once you get to that point, then you can start, doing that listing and figuring out, I can get 200 for the frame, maybe 150. I'm okay to go down to 100 with the parts and so forth. So at the end of the day, you're not going to get all your money at once when you're part of the bike, but you might get what you need to get out of it as a business perspective right out of the gate, so you can go out and buy something else or invest in something. And then a trickle 3 to 6 months, the rest of those parts will eventually flush for the most part. And then therefore you get your profit. How I look at it on my spreadsheet, I'm trying to get the cost of the bike out of the frame and fork or one set of parts. And then the rest of it can just sit there as long as it needs to until they sell through. And that's where my profit, and that's just calculated as profit. So that works pretty well there. But yeah, it's a whole process, but it works. Could have been as big as Shop Dog and those various other ones out there. If I really just put my, pedal to the gas pedal down as hard as I can back in 2003, yeah, I would have been pretty huge. But again, life gets in the way. If you like it or not, it really got in the way. In any case, nice. Yeah, it's international. Just be leery. Just I'm sure you can Google it now and figure out what countries to avoid. Because sometimes they just go into that country's postal system and it's a black hole. It just disappears. And obviously people take it, and there's no policing of it. Let's put it that way in some countries. So in any case, so going back to so what I have here is a beautiful 853 Reynolds Schwinn 1998 model guy right here. And I took all the parts off of it. I detailed the frame, put some ceramic coating on it and everything. So what you see here is what I'm going to be selling is the frame, seat post, because I'm not going to get more for the seat post. So that just helps the person wherever's at. And they may switch out these parts anyway. Same thing with the stem and bars. I don't need those to add up, to not sell or just end up in a pile in my house. I might as well just send it with the frame itself. And the other bits you want to be mindful is like the cable mounts and routing and all that. So I cleaned the whole thing up, took some good pictures of it. And again, pictures, people. Don't just do one picture and call it good. Facebook, it's 10 picture limit, which sucks. Craigslist is 24, which is pretty good. Then when you're looking at eBay, you can do 24 pictures and one video. You can do a little like 15-second extra verbal diarrhea video of that product, and that helps some people to understand, especially when you're looking at wheels and doing the wheel truing thing. You just put it in a truing stand and you kind of show them it actually is true and it runs smooth. Those visual validations of selling goes miles for that. So looking at the frame and fork here, I haven't researched the pricing on this yet, but I'm looking, I did a Bontrager frame, an older one, and I'm like, oh, I might be able to get, a couple hundred out of that. This one with steel, there's a good following of people wanting to build up their own little custom, whatever component group, campy or whatever, that they can do. Also do measurements on sizing, like the bottom bracket shell, what thread it is, the clamp for the front derailleur, what size that is, the C-post, if it's a headset, if it's a 1-inch or a headset, the 1.1 inch, and also dropout widths. As much is better, and more is better when you put in a description of all those details, because if you don't put it in there, guess what? They're going to be emailing you constantly over all those little details. So you might as well just get it out front, and that actually will help you as a silent salesman sell that product faster without any less communications. And I sell a lot of products because I have a good enough detail, I think, because I don't have any communication from, they're not leery of my selling page. They're like, oh, okay, we'll just buy it. And then they're done. And then they get a decent review. So I have a lot of good reviews and all that, so that works out really well. So in any case, that's what we're looking on that. So since I do have Bill
Whatever popular chain process or waxing of vital bike chains provides. Brand names like Shimano, SRAM, and various others to be cleaned in high detailed 5-step process and then waxed to your professional level with either speed chip or endurance chip, which has been proven to have better performance and better lasting events and recreational riding. Takes care of the messy process, and all you have is the clean waxed chain ready to perform. Check them out. Discount code with a link below.
All righty. Yeah, he has new chains, SRAM, Shimano, KMC, some Campy, I believe. Does the whole wax and service, so you don't have to do the mess, which is kind of nice. I'm going to be leveraging his service because I just don't have basically the bankroll of buying a whole bunch of chains, and that's just not my business model. So for him to take upon that and do it for me, therefore I'll just do wholesaling chains through him, pre-waxed, do that, do the various others. I mean, I do waxing here, so if a customer brings one in, I can do that. But in any case, so if you're building up your bike, it's best just to go with a new chain and cassette to save you some troubles on that. So we talked about the frame, and then now we got the components. And some of these components can be a hit or a miss. Reason being, some things just get worn out. And if you bought it used and you're doing something to refurbishing and sell, that might be a problem. So therefore, you want to, my rule of thumb is pretty basic, is whatever I pay for the bike, I try to double it on the estimation by looking at it like, oh, those shifters, I should be able to get $100. That derailleur's 50, front derailleur's 20, brake set's another 30, and crank set, depending what kind of value, maybe 50, and the wheel set maybe $100, and then the frame or whatever the kind of equation is. So if something drops off, like, not too sure about these shifters, honestly, and I mean, I cleaned them up. They do kind of shift-ish. I mean, they do, but they do sticky, and they're an older model, which they had a little bit of problem with on the ST6500s, not the 6510s. This is, you can tell by the front, if you're watching, you can tell by the cap of these is more of a dome cap versus that flat cap. The dome cap ones are the older models, so in any case, and these been used. This came from original owner, so I know the cat. And I know he rides a lot, so he rode this pretty good. So what I'm trying to say is, like, at least you can get to a point where you can still double your money, because on used and parting out, on the National Bike Dealers Association estimations with other research, they found you get about 50 to 55 points on those used products on average. And that's bike shop realm, the numbers. So if you get maybe 2/3 of that as a general estimate, and you're like, oh, shifters are bad, but I'm still going to make my profit on the rest of it, we're good to go. And in worst case, bottom line, basically get your money back out of it, and then you're ready, maybe a little bit of profit, but you're never really in a negative. I haven't really hit a negative yet on the bikes, on the perspective of selling and buying used bikes and parts. Let's see, double check the chat here so I'm not missing any of your guys' questions. Oh, Susan, that's a good point. De minimis and tariff changes had made shipping into the USA a nightmare, even though we have custom brokers and trans broker shipping agents. Interesting. I mean, yeah. Bypassing the brand. Oh, so be honest, you're bypassing the brands and have sourced them through the U.S. We're competitive in bringing products through Canada ports and avoid paying the tariffs. Yeah, it's interesting. Everybody's doing everything they can to not have to pay. And we don't even know it's legal. That's the thing. It's like, it hasn't even been gone through the court process here in the States of, is it even legal what they're doing? Like, kind of thing. Because it's supposed to go through, most of the time, in a normal presidency, and this goes back to Clinton, wherever you feel about that, but he did do a lot of changes, but they were all processed through the Congress and the House. So it went through studies and adjustments and all that. It wasn't just off of somebody's whim while they're sitting on the toilet with their phone trying to figure out something, or thinking they have a brilliant idea. Not to be too political, but it's like, it's put it into a really weird place for all of us with our bike stuff or any stuff, right? So any case, so yeah, good point there. Thanks. Any case, yeah. So the shifters. So I'm going to start from the front of the bike to the back. So if you're looking at the front of the bike, you got shifters. This is a 3x9 shifter set. Put them in ultrasonic cleaner, flush them with hot water. Try to get the shifting mechanism to be perfect, but it's not perfect. So for me and my reputation on my website, eBay, everything else, I probably won't sell these. And if I do sell them, they're going to be like parts only. So I might still be able to get like 20, 30 bucks out of them for parts only. If somebody wants a lever or a hood or something like that. So you can still get money out of parts only pieces. They might sit there for a little bit longer. You can say they do shift kinda. You're willing to try them out, see if you can get them to work. Maybe they have a better, I've heard people being bold enough to take these things completely apart and put them back together and have some success. I'm not that guy. I've tried. Not with the honors of trying. I have a box full of shifters I have taken apart and tried to put back together from Shimano, and it's been always a total mess. Apparently my skill set doesn't go that far. So, in any case, so going with that, and the second part is, well, moving front to back, we got into the crankset. So the crankset I have on this bike was actually upgraded from what they had originally, which would have been the Ultegra crank. They have the FSA Gauss hammer, 110 BB style. It looked like it's in pretty good shape. The teeth were pretty good. I took it all apart because whatever drivetrain stuff they had on there was gunky. Here's the secret of selling any parts and accessories and frames and wheels on anywhere. Clean the stuff up. Clean it to the point that it looks new, or at least get all the grease and stuff off. That's why it's all taken apart, because I took it all apart so I can wire brush all the caked on grease and then ultrasonic clean the parts and so forth. You don't need an ultrasonic cleaner, but check out the Amazon link in below. Then you'll find my Amazon store, the ultrasonic cleaners that I use. I have a 15-liter. Reason being, it's big enough to accommodate the crank size. If you're just doing derailleurs and chains, you can do the smaller ones, but that's what I suggest on those. Cleaning these parts and putting them back together will represent the crankset a lot better, and Lou able you to sell the parts a little bit faster and to get the price that you want. Keep mindful when you take things apart, you put them back together correctly. There's a nub here on chain rings on most of them to go with where the crank arm direction is, as well as the smaller chain ring. If it's a triple, there's like an arrow and so forth, and make sure they're in the right direction. I can't tell you how many times, including this one, taking the chain rings off, going, well, I got to take them off anyway because they're not lined up correctly. Well, this one doesn't have a lot of ramping to it for design, so being just circular without any change is probably fine. The owner did not notice the difference if it was put on incorrectly, but a lot of the newer chain rings will have ramping, and you got to be very mindful of that. So keep that in mind when you put that back together and so forth. So that'd be the crankset, and if the bottom bracket, this is an external bearing bottom bracket specific to FSA, stamped FSA. These are still in good condition. I sell it with the crankset because selling bottom brackets used separately is not a huge market for it. Reason being is you can get new for pretty cheap for especially external bearings, and also the Shimano cartridge BB UN 50s or 70s, 75s, whatever you want to look for. You don't want to make sure of size. But since this is a road bike crankset and specifically a 68 shell, it's all going to be ready for that buyer to just put it all together. And if they want to switch out to a different bottom bracket, that's fine. But at this particular case, it gets them like a little ahead of the process so you can get that bike put together a little bit faster, or they know exactly what came with it, therefore they can swap it out to whatever new one, and they have the parts. It's a lot easier to match up, to be matchy-matchy kind of thing. So with that crankset, so the shifters are bomb, that's like $20 and part it out. The crankset, I might be able to get 50 on this particular FSA one, and if it's in good condition. And the other part is the brakes. The brakes, you would think like Ultegra brakes should have a lot of value. I hate to break it to you. No, you're lucky you'll get $40, usually 25 to 40 on a set of Ultegra brakes. Again, cleaned up, sand the pads down, that kind of thing. If the pads are totally worn, replace the pads for them, but pads are not too expensive. Then that's a cost that you put into it to retro that. But in any case, or just sell them without the pads. You can just do a lower price, and they can buy the cartridge pads. Like they're like $12 a set now. They might be 24 by June. But in any case, that's what we're looking at. And brake pads are consumable, so that's going to be expected. That kind of thing there. So. And then we got the front derailleur. You would think front derailleurs are like, oh, I had a box of these, and like, crap, I don't know if I'm going to be able to sell any of these. You're not going to get a lot of money, but you're going to get 20, 15, 20, 30 bucks out of them. Are you making a lot of profit in the time that take pictures, clean it, take pictures, and list it? It really is kind of a wash, because if you made 20 bucks off of this, you put more time into it than to sell it. But on the flip side, you can think about it this way. That person that bought the front derailleur from you may go to you again when they're looking for something else. So look at it as a lost leader product, and also it gets it out of your hair. It doesn't build up a bin full of front derailleurs and like, what the hell am I going to do with these? Because you may not have enough volume to support those usages of that many used bits. So, in any case, there were no studies. Yeah. Anyway, so in any case, it's that way they're out of your hair. You make an extra 20 bucks. Maybe it's enough for lunch or for BF. I'm just going to abbreviate it. BF for tacos for BF. So the rear derailleur, I like to at least take the jockey pulleys off to clean them up and make sure, mindful again, putting the parts back to where they're supposed to be, taking pictures if you need be. These particular older ones have a problem with the lower jockey. A lot of them crack. If you're watching this, you can see the crack right now. You don't want to resell it with a cracked jockey pulley. So either you can do two things. Find a jockey pulley that'll work out of your other bin of parts. If you don't have that accessible, maybe just sell it for used parts. Because some of these parts people can still use. Maybe they need the body. Maybe they need the hanger. Maybe they have the jockey pulleys. What they're doing, for most of the cases, they're trying to be matchy-matchy to their vintage bike, or they're trying to do an inexpensive build-out for a mechanical, cable-actuated rim brake bike. So you can do either or. I'm going to see if I have an extra jockey pulley that'll work. That's a 9-speed. Then I'll put it in there, which I think I do. So I'll be able to list that. Rear derailleurs, those are range. You need to do a little study on those before listing and pricing, because the short cage one like this is not as popular as in pricing goes. It's more flooded out there. Therefore, you might only get like 30 or 40 bucks. The long cage one for the triples, that's where it gets a little more expensive. And if it's a 10-speed, where a lot of 10-speed bikes are still out there, but they're no longer making 10-speed upper end componentry to support those bikes, therefore, that Ultegra 10-speed long cage, you might be able to get $100 for it. So, that being said, those are possibilities. Always start high, then you can always drop your price lower if you're not in a crush to trying to get the time frame out of there. That goes with selling it as a business or just selling it personally as well. Patience is like fishing. Patience is the virtue on this scenario for sure. Hey guys. Oh, so Susan from Canada was saying on the plus side, you get less competition from abroad. It's true. Then you could bring the prices up. It's all about demand, right? Demand and all that stuff. GP Digit, thank you for chiming in. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it. Is there a clearinghouse of brands for spec listing for parts? Are you asking if there's like a suggested price listing for it's? I would just go with the eBay price. Just do the research on if anything, just do it on eBay because they're one of the largest parts sellers in the world for used. Regardless if you hate them or love them or in between, you can still use them to leverage the pricing or figure out what the pricing is. And like I mentioned before, if you missed it, you start your profile on that product and you don't have to completely fill it out. I just have like one in draft mode all the time, so I can just switch the title out and maybe the description a little bit and the category, and then it'll give me a suggested price of not suggested, give me the products that actually have sold in the last 60 or 30 days. Therefore, if it's a pretty popular product like the Ultegra rear derailleur, you can see where the price of flux it's been. I mean, if yours is a little bit nicer quality or in better shape or whatever the case, and you do adjustment for it, at least you know what they have been selling for versus what people have them listed. People shoot for the moon sometimes, and you don't know really how long they've been sitting there or been recycled for listings and so forth. But that's what I would suggest. That's a great source. That's why I use the leverage. Same thing for titling, is you'll see some of those other shops that have tens of thousands of positive reviews. You're like, okay, so whatever Ultegra rear derailleur that they're listing, the title, use the same title or similar to, because it'll come up in the SEO portion of it when people are looking for that. Keep in mind, with eBay, which is really nice, if somebody's Googling that rear derailleur, a shopping cart list will show up in one of the portals, and eBay, that's where you're paying for eBay for those listing fees, is getting it out there. So they have a huge SEO platform to push that product out there for listing, getting in front of people. And therefore, then they'll see a little video of me working on one. from my YouTube channel. So not to say you need to do that, but that's what you'll see. So in any case, that's just kind of how it rolls on that. So yeah, the rear derailleur, I have to fix up that. But so that was what's left. Like the tires, nope, those are worn out. Saddle on this one, chucked. Bar tapes, no way. We're down to the wheels. Whoa. Ultegra hub, Mavic, CXP14, Aero looking. These are cool looking alloy, classic wheels. For me, I do, and if you're a bike shop or somebody that does sell used parts or think about selling used parts, refurbishing the parts is the name of the game. Cleaning up, polishing, lubing, making sure they're ready to go to be installed. Everything as a pro mechanic would do. Like, I got this wheel set, I'm going to put it on this bike, what am I going to do? Going to adjust the hub. In this case, the hubs seem dry. So I'm going to pull the hubs apart, clean them, not chunky or anything, just seems dry. So I'm going to take them apart, repack them real quick, put them back together, and then adjust those, and then true the wheel. First, I'm going to inspect the rim to make sure there's no obvious cracks or anything, so I'm not wasting my time. So there with wheels, you want to make sure technically the rim is straight, true, no dings, no cracks. The rim well for rim brake is pretty flush. There's no concave. You don't want it to be worn out too much, because the idea on these, you want to get these wheels to whoever's buying them in pretty good condition and usable. Because if they get the wheel and there's like something that you missed or didn't care about checking and is not used for them, if they want to return them, costs on shipping on these suck. A wheel set, because they're not heavy, it's just they take a lot of volume. And then to pack them correctly without getting damaged in shipping, you're looking at $35 for a single wheel, $50 for a set of wheels. And now those prices have gone up again. So double check that with UPS or wherever you're shipping them through. And therefore, go through bike flights to get the lower price if you're shipping them without going through the eBay platform of it. But there alludes, you don't want that to be a returned issue, because you're going to be losing. You can lose money on wheels if not done right. So true, clean. So I put them on the truing stand. I clean them again. I put them in the tank before, scrub the heck out of it, get all that. These were coated with grease. I mean, they were like nasty. So got them in the shop tank, scrubbed them with the Dawn soap water brush, got them all cleaned up. Then I'm going to clean them again with, I use Purple Power diluted to clean off the spokes and everything, inspecting, then truing. Then I also polish it, put polishes on the rims and everything. Then I use rubbing alcohol to clean the brake surface, so the braking does not have any contaminants on it. So everything as a pro mechanic would do to prep these wheels to be used, and while doing that processing, I'm inspecting and making everything go. If the wheels are in really good condition and it's a decent brand that's recognizable, you can get at least about 100 or so for them, maybe a little less depending on demand. But also put all the tech features on it. How many gears will the cassette body, free hub body will carry? What's the spacing of the rear axle? Is it a quick release or a through axle, a rim brake? All those little details will save you hours on hours of responding to emails. And if you're doing volume or going to be doing these, I have probably 3 or 4 sets of wheels I've sold similar. So when I go to do that, I already have like a template basically when I go to resell these. So the hubs on both of these are going to need to be repacked, and I'm going to re-true those. Hopefully that's about a 30 minutes to an hour job, and then hopefully I can make the profit off of that. So that's pretty like it. So you got the number 1 frame and fork. This is the bare basics on this one. So I got shifters, number 2, brakes 3, rear derailleur 4, front derailleur 5. Did I say crankset already? And wheels. Like you got like 7 listings. So that's not really too terrible. It's not like you're doing like all the different little things there, but you got 6 different listings, and therefore with this bike I should be able to get the money that I need to get out of it. It might take, some of the small parts will take a little bit longer. But keep in mind, keep it organized. I put model numbers and everything now, so when somebody references it, because I'm listing in multiple places, I can take it all down, that kind of thing. So that's kind of it for a nutshell. The tricks of selling it as a business is volume and repetitive motions, right? Okay, so I need a sip of coffee. So for me, look at it this way. I've been doing this on my own for 5 years. I've been in the industry for 35. I've been doing parting bikes for the last, oh my God, coming up over 20 years, off and on. So with my little micro lab shop, if you will, what I got it refined down to is like some of the parts, you might be able to find some gold nuggets out there, like Chris King headsets, certain stems that have some value to them, or carbon C-posts have a brand name, those kinds of things when you're looking at bikes and that kind of deal. But you're looking roughly about 7 to 10 listings per bike, refurbishing to resell parts and frames. That being said, a bike shop, it's a pretty easy shift to strictly selling all new bikes and just doing general service. And this is like a service announcement to all those other bike shops out there that are not part of the 8% that are selling used, or done a little bit and they really haven't found their flow. I'm going to work on a video series specifically on this, and very refined videos to help those shops kind of convert part of their business model to this structure. I'm going to do it soon, so you can do, at least by the end of the month, at least you have something going into the season and go, okay, this is what I should be really thinking about, and how is it going to work in my business model. But here's the teaser part of it. It's okay, you have somebody, either you have a flow of bikes coming in, but if you don't, you can either yourself as the owner or a manager, just look on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist and see what's out there. You'll be amazed. Especially if you're in a higher population area, you'll be amazed how many units are out there. Just don't go buying off crazy. But once you just do 1 or 2, just as a test throw, and kind of get in the rhythm of it, there's a lot of shortcuts that I used learning over the years of what price points I'm at and what's the maximum spend. Currently right now, and this may have changed if you're watching this later, currently right now in my current market, with population of the Front Range of Colorado, which is pretty big and pretty heavy in the used bike inventory platform business, very active communities. Right now, I am not spending anything more than 150 to 200 on steel or aluminum bikes. I'll go up to 300 for carbon bikes and 400 to titaniums. That's the cutoff right there. Am I having problems finding bikes in that price range? Nope. But I'm fishing 3 or 4 times a day. I'm online looking, see something pop up that's near to me or close to my area, and it comes with the right price, boom, I'm on it, like on it. Because the ones in the price points that are going to make you the most money for a business model are going to go quick, because there's already a whole bunch of, not me's per se, but flippers out there. And what they're doing is basically buying a bike, cleaning it up, not doing a damn thing to it, and selling it for $50 more than what they paid. This has been going on ever since COVID and probably before that. And some of these guys are horrible. They're basically like bike drug dealers. One individual in Boulder is really creepy. But he has a high volume of stuff. He says they're all tuned up, which are all unsafe to ride. Knowing that I bought a couple from him, they are crap. So when you're buying something used, keep in a grain of salt, inspect it in person, always try to negotiate down on price. But that's my price points I've been working with, and I've been pretty lucky. And the other gold nugget is trying to find somebody that's selling their bikes that are original owners. Original owners is the best pipeline to go, because they have a little bit of history and a little bit of attachment to the bike itself, so hopefully they've been taken care of a little bit better. Not all cases, but most times. Oh, Schwinn guy, thank you for chiming in. And good Happy New Year's to you too. Or to you. So there's the beginning front of the business journey, right? So you're out there finding the units. Once you find the units, then that goes into your service department. A service department treats it just like a tune-up. You got two directions you can go, right? You can you can fix it up and have it like tuned up with cables and housing and new rubber and all that and put it on the floor. And if you have a pipeline of people that are coming in, that's great. If you're looking for models that complement the bikes that you have on the floor, even better. If you carry a Trek and you find a good Trek entry-level road bike, put it right next to it as a full bike. So you can leverage both perspectives on this. So you can leverage it for getting more inventory on your floor to sell to your upcoming, basically the season's around the corner, and you want to get as many of those bikes out there so you're not relying on new and paying all the extra costs of that's coming into. So we're not going to go into that, but it's a nightmare. And what's going to be available and what's not going to be available. You need to have, if you sell bikes, you need to have product on the floor. Doesn't freaking matter if it's new or used. You need stuff on the floor. An empty bike shop makes you look like you're going out of business. And you do not want to have that stigma whatsoever. Fluff it up, make it look pretty, displays, whatever you need to do to make it look like you're just a powerhouse. But yet, you want to make sure you have inventory. Full used, refurbished, tune-up bikes where the service department portion gets paid for the tune-up with the margin, but the margin is so much deeper on used bikes that you can actually still make your 20 to 30 points that you would have on a new bike, but still yet make that also pay the service department the tune-up and the parts. See where I'm getting at? So if you're in a bike shop and you know the dollars and cents, you know inventory, that is a win-win. How long does it take you to do? Not long. Maybe you'll run around once a week, a couple hours, or when you have time, or send Timmy the van guy to go out to go pick something up while he's picking something else up. Leveraging that, either paying by Venmo or it's pretty cash heavy as the used market, but quit away the laundry money. Don't, I didn't say that. I don't do that either. But anyway, it's just kind of a funny, mobster joke. Any case, so the other perspective. Okay, so you have a bike that you don't want to put on the floor because it's the non-brand that you carry, and you already have quite a few on there to represent. If you're fine there, okay, that's fine. You don't have to put it on the floor. Put it on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, eBay, your website, whatever portals that you're comfortable with. That's a listing, it's a person that you pay to list those things. Salespeople are great for this. Why? Because right now, they're sitting on the counter and looking at their phone because there ain't no damn customers coming in the door. Great job for them. Yeah, sorry, salespeople, I just threw you under the bus. Because you just have to show them how to do a couple of them, and you just maybe have them do the drafts, and the manager or the owner or whoever finalizes it and sends them out. Well, you can, if you got a high volume of these, like, Lynn, is it worth an hour or two of that part-time employee or salesperson to come in and work for a couple hours to get those listings up? Yeah, hey, get extra hours in the dead or whenever, or in the summertime, if you're willing to pay overtime, that's going to help that pipe. As long as you keep that pipeline going, that's the thing. Just keep it going, keep it consistent, keep a workflow. Got 5 bikes in this week, then either be listed and going. You got to make sure there's a timeline, just like a repair service. Timeline, end date, listed, tagged, and put in the back. Ready for somebody to buy it, and they buy it. Your service department knows how to pack bikes like no other. They've been unpacking them forever, so they know what they're doing. So in any case, there's your pipeline, and the service department, when they're doing a tune-up, and you're like, okay, the value of the bike, and you're like, oh, I can get more money out of this by selling the parts and the frame, just to the tune-up to that part right before you just put parts back on. Like, all right, get set aside. The salesperson takes pictures of them, lists them, does part numbers, asks the the bike tech, what's the description on this? eBay it up, Google it, boom, you got the description, list it, boom. After they go through a few bikes, and especially if it's specific same style models or vintages, whatever, it becomes a pretty quick flow. And then all of a sudden you have this machine from your service department and sales department pushing bike frames, wheels, parts, shipping, getting that flow. Once you get that flow going, that's an awesome, beautiful complement of sales and selling of products of frames, wheels, parts, and providing good used bike for your local community as well as your bike shop floor. And then when it gets busy with new bikes, there you go. I mean, you have a huge flow. There's one shop here in Fort Collins. They do mostly used. And if you're local, you know what I'm talking about, all used. Well, they do carry a couple new models now, but they're known as for used. And they're really overpriced used, and they've been a pretty good model on it. I was in there the other day because they needed some parts for repair that they didn't have. But they talked about their buckets of parts sitting in the back that they don't know what to do with. That's a freaking gold mine. That's a gold mine. I mean, they could pay me, split the profit, and I'll take care of all of that, do all the part of it, and I could just be busy doing that for the next year. I mean, so any shop has bins full of opportunity of selling something, and once you get that flow going, you're going to really bolster your business. You're going to add labor dollars to the service department so you can justify labor rates as well as the staff maintaining. In addition to, you might be able to give out raises if you do this right. Maybe. I won't get too hard at myself, but at least you'll be able to keep the lights on and still be in business when things maybe turn around and get a little better, because nobody's buying $5,000, $10 on bikes this next year. There's been a whole bunch of thumbs down on the buying a new bike, and there was a thing for there it is. I'm not going to show it because it has like promo ads from everything, but it's a European news syndicate. Bike radar, and the title of the thing is 5 reasons you do not need to buy, or you don't need to buy a new bike for 2026. Well, the first one, it won't make it faster because the older tech is pretty much about the same. And honestly, 98% of us don't, I mean, even though we do care about going faster, it really is about us, the motor, right? So it's not going to make you faster spending that $5,000. And the second one is, I'm scrolling, bikes are more expensive, and including tariffs and availability too. That's the second heartburn piece. And road bike upgrades you don't need. Save cash. You don't need certain things to upgrade. I mean, you don't need the titanium bits or this, that, and other, whatever. I mean, it makes you feel like you go faster, but does it really? The fourth thing is if you refurbish or like a used bike or take your good current bike and have a full tune-up done on it correctly by a really good mechanic or a shop, it's going to run like new. You're not going to need a new bike. And there hasn't been a huge progress in the tech lately. I mean, upper end stuff, sure, but this, it's not going to save you that much weight, and it's not going to make you that much more efficient. Unless you're a pro racer, you're not going to care. And the last one, the N+1 is dead. Don't need that extra one. You can get like one bike, a used one, and be multiple purpose from road to gravel or light gravel to off-road, all those things. That's what we're looking at. That's what we're looking at. I mean, that is starting in the news syndicates. They're getting a pulse of what the current market of the market is. Your numbers are going to reflect that. The weirdness of the availability and price hikes are just about to start. Because we just in the shock and awe value right now. especially here in the States, going into the next 6 months. That's where you're going to see the actual effects of manufacturers ordering and the effects of that and what's going to happen. We're talking about 24+% decrease of inventory going into the United States. That's a huge chunk. As a bike shop, you are scrambling to trying to figure out how to fill that 25 to 30% of your floor space with product used. Used is the way to go. Even fancy old XTR refurbished stuff, put that in a display case. People are like, ooh. They might think you're going to use them, but you at least have stuff to sell that people might be buying. And again, with used products, being a bike dealer, you can sell it without infringing on any contract agreements with any of your vendors. All your vendors don't give a crap about used whatsoever. Used. I'm like, oh, it's all used stuff. What do you mean? What are you talking about? I'll buy some new stuff once in a while for you, whatever. But they're not going to pull your dealership. I don't think anybody's going to pull anybody's dealership going into next year because it's such a troublesome time. They're going to be begging for you to buy anything or commit to anything to keep their business going, because they're the ones are going to be feeling the biggest impact of what's been going on, have been, and going to be going on, if that makes any sense. Any case, try not to freak out. But for me, my plan for January, I'm on day 2. Okay, so this is my simple plan. I need to list at least $200 worth of product a day through the month. A profit, $200 of profit of used products a month on my website and eBay and so forth. So if I figure, if I get enough volume and numbers of hits, I could potentially, not to say they'll all sell, but the stuff I currently have on there, those will start selling a little bit too. But then right now, that's probably that would be roughly about 100 products, products to 150. Let's just say, let's be modest. Let's say 100. Get 100 things listed in 30 days is going to be roughly 3 to 3.5 things a day. 3 listings takes me about an hour to do when I have to look up stuff and so forth. That's just the listing portion of it, not the refurbishing of parts and so forth. So I figure, and like maybe you'll have a gold nugget like a bike frame, like, okay, I'm going to make 200 off of that. So I'm looking at 200 profit off of 30 days. That's going to give me $6,000. Potential $6,000 of growth. $6,000 for one dude in the garage trying to do something. That's just refurbishing and trying to sell parts. If you get efficiency out of it as a bike shop, wouldn't you want an extra $6,000 going into your bike? Bottom line, and that's just one individual. So if you have that compound, if you have 3 people committed to doing that, that could be $18,000. 4 people, maybe more. That's for the slow month. So the numbers work. The talking old guys in the National Bike Dealers Association, their little videos, which is great information, by the way, they are all going, do used. There's 50% margin and not lessening. Everything new is shrinking margins. Everybody wants I love new stuff too, don't get me wrong. But this is not the time and not the place. Not this year. Not even close. So, I even thought about going into last year, like, oh, maybe I could start bringing some new product in. I got a contract with Silka, and I could start selling some Silka stuff, and da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, nope, fuck that. Ain't gonna do it. Not gonna do it. Nope. It's just a train wreck. And as much as I like those products or whatever I want to sell, it's not gonna work. Not gonna do it. It's not gonna work. In any case, most everything you said is wrong. Oh. Really? What world do you live in? Boop. Yeah. Most everybody said is, well, right in my environment. And Yeah, been doing this for a long time, and I know what's been working. So, there's a lot of people that are misconstrued, may not have as much experience, or their market's been completely different. But honestly, I've been doing this for a long time, and I hope you guys are having a great new year. Hope you got some valid insights. I need to repack some hubs right now, get back to work, and get ready for my appointment. So, in any case, hey, thank all of you for hanging out. Happy New Year's to all of you. Hope you enjoyed this broadcast. Hope everything's going good in your neck of the woods. Hopefully you have some little nicer weather so you can go out there and do some riding too. And thanks for hanging out. Thank you so much. In any case, did I miss anything? I don't think I missed anything. In any case. Yeah, boy. Oh, 6526, yeah. Happy New Year's to you too. Again, everybody, have a wonderful day. Oh, single track. Thanks for chiming in. It's tough. I'm sorry. You started a shop in 24. I wish I could say it's going to get better. And everybody's hoping. Obviously, we're all hoping that's going to get better. But it's it's interesting. But if you do the right, do a few things, do some adjustments, what's going to work in your market, you might be able to find some sanity, maybe some time to yourself. You're not working so hard. I'm doubling down on things I know are going to actually make a profit, or at least more higher potential of making a profit. That should be always a business model. But quite honestly, you get derailed in distractions like, oh, maybe I should do it and put some time into this, and maybe it'll make some income, and then it turns flat. I've had a lot of, I wouldn't say failures, they're just not potentially producing at this particular time. So yeah, 2026 is basically doubling down on stuff that you know for a fact that you could be actually making money. And yeah, it might be not exactly what you want to do, but it's what you're going to need to do until you get through the season. And hopefully you're at the end of all this, we're healthier, smarter, and just in a better place. Any case, thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for those who are jumping in. Oh, Josh, come on out and ride some bikes. I will. When I get some, holidays are finally over. My goodness. I finally see some time in my schedule. Ish. Anyway, thanks again, everybody. William Brown, thank you I appreciate it. You guys, you all take care. And again, it makes this channel, so thank you for chiming in. Please hit the like and subscribe, and share. There's the other thing too. You can share it to your other cycling communities, either in groups or your Facebook pages or whatever. I appreciate all of that. And again, thank you all for being here. It makes my day. Seeing a lot of you come back, and I really appreciate it. And if it's Friday in your neck of the woods, we'll definitely try to make a freak out of it. All righty. Oh, yeah. And this content is basically, I have no vendors. It's Kool-Aid free. So this is what happens when you no longer have vendors. You get weird. You get weird, and you just don't really care what you say anymore. Anyway, guys. Oh, yeah, I got to go on. Thanks. Thank you so much. This did run over. But in any case, have a wonderful day. Let's continue this year rocking. 2026. It's here. We're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen. Oh, yeah, you can sell lightly used cassettes. Sold a ton of these. Ben, it was probably like $400 or $500 of just cassettes sitting there waiting to find new homes for lightly used. Look at that. That's the sound of money. You all have a great day.